What's going on? YouTube Metal Complex here, and today I'd like to talk about blade length and what the knife community deems as generally acceptable for EDC versus our own individual usage habits. And I just want to jump into this discussion. This is something that I want to talk about, something that I feel like gets sort of talked about in a general sense and is not properly defined. And as you guys know, I kind of like to cater a little bit to the newer part of the knife world. I enjoy the expansion that we're all experiencing. It's good, it's healthy, but with expansion comes chaos and confusion sometimes, and it can be difficult for new people to kind of get a sense of what what they like, or it's like as I evolved, I learned things from what people said, or I developed my own interests and my own tastes based on what other people said at first, and then those changed once I realized, yeah, that's BS. That's not always true. So I wanna kind of discuss that just a little bit. Before we get going here, I upload regularly. I have daily content uploads surrounding knives in general. I like to do overviews and reviews. I like to do unboxings. I like to do discussion topics such as the one you're seeing here. And I have a Knife Guy series on Sundays. So if that sounds good to you, go ahead and hit subscribe and turn notifications to all. Also, we are currently at 54 patrons, which means we're only 6 patrons away from me doing a free-to-enter giveaway for everybody for this beautiful ProTech Mass-Drop Mordax. That's a button-lock flipper with 20 CV. Awesome knife. The moment we hit 60, I'll be opening that up as a giveaway for everybody. So if you'd like to support me and help me reach that goal, you can follow the link in the description to my Patreon. Have a look around, and then you can join any tier. If you don't want to support me that way, that's totally fine. You can simply continue to watch my content. That's support in and of itself. And you can still enter once that day comes. Everybody has the exact same chance to win. Anyways, let's get going here. So what I have on the table to start off with are a bunch of knives in my possession currently that are long. Most of these are about 4 inches overall. Now there's a lot of blades out there that are 4 inches or over that are folding knives, and some are, obviously ridiculous. Like by most people's standards, a knife that is, 10.5 inches long and weighs a pound and it has a blade height. Wow, the glare on that thing. Let's turn it. Can we turn it this way? The blade height is just ridiculous, and it's just overly cumbersome in a number of different ways beyond the blade length, right? These knives are all large knives, definitely, and they're going to be completely outside of the range of sane or normal for a lot of people. Now, for me though, I've reviewed each one of these knives on my channel. I found that each one of these knives, despite being long, actually carry all right. Is the Microtech SOCOM Elite overkill for EDC? Yeah, but it's actually not uncomfortable to carry. The Spyderco Native Chief, absolutely overkill in terms of blade length for me, but is it easy to carry? Absolutely. P&P Revenge, same thing. Kaiser Odin, same thing. Artisan Cutlery Large Archaeo, same thing. D2 variant, we haven't talked about this one yet. We talked about the titanium variant. Each one of these is long and slender. The height isn't too bad. The blade thickness, this guy's a little bit thick, but it's an aluminum frame and it's only about a 5-ounce knife. So, nice and easy to carry versus other large blades that are out there. Same thing with the Native Chief. Just the thickness just isn't there. Each of these knives is anywhere from, I think, like 3.5 ounces to about 5.5 ounces. And for me, it's all about carry profile. What type of space the blade takes up in your pocket comes first. Then weight. A lot of people get hung up on weight. 3 ounces. 3 ounces, that's as heavy as I'll carry. 4 ounces, that's as heavy as I'll carry. And then they judge knives based on, you'd have an excellent design. Let's use this one. Excellent design, excellent blade to handle ratio, excellent ergonomics, profile, blah, blah, blah. That's all great. Somebody sees the weight on it coming in at 4.6 or so ounces. What did this weigh? Something like that. We just reviewed it. And people, well, it's over my mark. Now, by that logic, though, if you have a knife that, for example, has very thin G10 scales and no liners, and has a very thin blade, but has this big, wide, fat, tall profile, like some sort of monster cleaver, like, actually, I've got a good example. something like the Kaiser Sheepdog. Something like this. But imagine an even thinner blade, no steel liners, thinner G10. What you end up with is this monster knife that's super light. Maybe they could get it down to 3.5, 4 ounces in theory. Maybe you shorten it up a little bit. But you have this to deal with, right? So by that logic, it's like, oh, now all of a sudden this is carry appropriate because it weighs 3.5 to 4 ounces. That doesn't make any sense. Now, my main point here is going to be, if you guys, for those of you who don't want to watch the whole video, is that you can't just depend on one thing to determine whether or not something is carry appropriate. There's a lot of factors that go into it. You know, don't let certain things stop you from carrying a longer blade for EDC. I mean, truthfully, let's be honest here, because people are like, oh, you know, 4-inch blade is not appropriate for EDC. Nobody would ever need a 4-inch blade. Those same people who are telling you that, maybe they're carrying something like the Hogue Ritter, right? That's an 8-inch knife with a 3.25, 3.4-inch blade, or maybe they're carrying a pair of 3, another very acceptable EDC size blade. It's 7.25 inches overall and a 3-inch cutting edge. Are we finally getting a real patina on that? Oh my gosh, we might be. You know, maybe they're carrying something like that. Maybe they're carrying something like the Shaman, maybe something a little bit bigger. Maybe they're carrying a PM2, you know, or maybe they're carrying a Delica, right? Let me tell you something. Technically, all of those knives are completely overkill too for EDC. Well, most of us are not. I mean, like a lot of people, I think, get this idea that what they're carrying is exactly the right thing for exactly what they're using it for every day. But my guess is that, and I talk about this a lot, the everyman, which represents 80% of people who are carrying knives or into knives, are like more aware of their pocket knife and what it's used for than the average person who might carry a pocket knife. 80% of us are doing things like cutting open letters, cutting into a box. A lot of it just ends there. Maybe some of us are cutting, you know, some twine or rope, or maybe those little thin plastic straps that come on packages. Maybe rubber, maybe a little bit of wood. Let me tell you something. Everything that you've seen so far in this video is technically overkill for that. The other 20% of us are using our knives outdoors really hard, possibly having to resharpen the blades once a week, once a month, maybe even every other day, you know? And a lot of the knives that I've shown are more so suited for that type of stuff. Should that stop you from carrying knives of a certain blade length or style for EDC? No, because if we all carried exactly what we should be carrying, the majority of us, the 80% of us who are the common man, all of us would need to carry this. This is a Spyderco. This is a Victorinox Cadet. It has a single simple blade that is stainless and not made out of anything exotic. It has a can opener with a tiny flathead. It has a bottle opener with a larger flathead / pry bar, depending on who you ask. And it has a poker with a nail file for filing your nails or poking stuff, whatever. But my point is that this is all the more, this would be boring. This is a great knife. It's an exceptional minimalist EDC knife. I love this thing. It's been through the dryer. It's super, this thing is unbelievably tough. I love it, but it's boring. It's not fun to carry, you know? A lot of time, like legitimately, some of the knife world's like favorite EDC knives are on the table right now. Some of the most highly regarded EDC tools that have ever existed, I've got them on the table. Here's the Rat. What other flagship stuff can I put out here? The Shaman, blah, blah, blah. You don't need, I can't tell you exactly where the line is, but the blade length is really only important, if I'm going to get technical about it, if you need to puncture something that is very dense, if you need to puncture into something and then start cutting, then something like this might be beneficial, but I'm being generic on purpose because everybody's usage habits are so completely different that you can't get caught up in the weeds of, well, what am I going to be doing today? What am I going to be using this for? And, when I was on the forum, I spent so much time on blade forums when I was younger and getting into this. And I read so much about, how people want things, condensed. And I think a lot of times it was just stoking a fire under their own ego to let everybody know exactly how much they knew about it. But people go into such detail about, carrying a Spyderco PM2 is just, it's just completely unnecessary for EDC. I mean, the blade length is way too long. You're never going to need to use, you're never going to need a blade that's that long, and plus, like, the emphasis on fidget factor and all that. I mean, that's mostly for flash, and you have this enormous handle that, yeah, there's a benefit in ergonomics, but what are you really doing, where you need that type of grip on a knife? You can get by just fine with a Victorinox Cadet, or a simple slip joint style blade. Nobody needs it. Listen, the people, if you're a newcomer and you're hearing that, and that's sort of changing your perspective on what's appropriate to carry, and maybe you saw like the Microtech SOCOM Elite and you were interested in it, and then you read something like that and it kind of put you off to it, and you're like, oh, if the elitists of this world are saying that this is too much for EDC, then maybe now maybe you're feeling dissuaded in making that purchase. Let me tell you, as a knife guy, and there are people who out there who know way more than me and who are way more experienced in this world, both in terms of just knife knowledge and knife usage habits. I am an everyman. I am a guy who uses his knives maybe 3 to 5 times a day max on stupid little things. Opening packages, opening cardboard boxes, blah, 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 little tiny things. I carry this every now and then because I like it, not because I need it, because it's fun. It's nice knowing that I have this high quality tool in my pocket that's got an amazing steel on it, that's got an amazing build design, awesome ergonomics. Do I need something as tough as the 7075 aluminum that this is built with? I have to say this every single time because people are like, well, Microtech site says it's 6065. The new ones are, the old ones I don't think were. This is an older one. It's one of the first runs for 2018, which you can actually see there on the blade. June of 2018 was right around when this newer run came out. I don't know. I have no way of proving exactly what type of aluminum it is. The point is, do I need that high grade of aluminum? No. Do I need a titanium lock underneath with a steel lock bar insert? No. Do I need this hyper aggressive 4-inch blade made out of M390 at 187 thousandths? No. Do I need my knife to deploy and run on bearings? No. Do I like it? Yes. Do I feel dissuaded to purchase things like that because of what I read on blade forums or any other? Now, it's not to discredit blade forums. There's a lot of good information there, but should you be dissuaded, because of something that you read on blade forums or something that somebody said in the comment section, perhaps down in one of my videos? No, it's like what I always say. You should carry what you like. I carry a lot of stuff for reasons that are, if we're going to talk about a purely utilitarian blade, the Cold Steel Tough Light, oh my gosh, like if I've got something to do on a Saturday and I got to run to Home Depot and then go into my backyard, this thing is in my pocket for purely for utilitarian reasons, also for reasons of cost. If I completely screw this thing up, oh well, it was $22 or whatever. It's kind of the same way that I feel about the Ontario Rat. If I screw it up, no big deal, it was 42 bucks. Now, I have a lot of tools here that are substantially better build quality, and I've talked about this before. I don't use them as hard, but it's kind of nice to just enjoy them. Now, I do also have knives that are fairly expensive that I use really hard. The Manix 2, with all the custom stuff that's on it, there's well over 200 in it, and this knife gets used. It does not get babied. It's something that I use and don't have a problem using. Same with the Para 3 in Maximum. This was a gift from my wife. In Maximum Steel, it absolutely gets used all the time. The PMP Revenge, this was a gift, but doesn't keep me from using it. I don't have reservations against that. The Spyderco Shaman, same thing. It's a $185 knife. I use it. Do I need those knives? Do I need that big of a blade? No. So what's the appropriate blade length for EDC? That's why you guys are watching this, I would imagine. I haven't made the thumbnail for this yet, but in the future I have, and I would imagine I made it something, provocative. Let's click on that and see what he thinks. So what do I think the best blade length is for EDC? What I like to carry, honestly, what I prefer is somewhere between a 3 1/4 inch blade, a 3.5 inch blade. I was thinking this has got a 3 1/4 inch cutting edge because of the choil. So a 3.5 inch blade, all the way down to about a 3 inch blade is what I prefer. Even on my Para 3, which is the smallest blade, Well, technically the lion steel is in there too. These are the two smallest blades that I carry for EDC. And we're coming in at, oh God, can I do this? I'm gonna get around here in a sec. We're coming in at about 3 inches on the lion steel, the TRE, and we're coming in at about 3 inches on the Para 3 as well in overall blade length. Now I know this one's got a choil and the lion steel's got a sharpening choil and the blade length's different, but what I'm talking about, or the cutting edge is different, what I'm talking about is total blade length. 3 to 3.5 inches is what I like to carry. Every now and then I'll carry over that. You know, it's just, it starts to, knives in general start to feel a little bit cumbersome at that height. Even something with the ratios of the native chief, amazing ratios. It still just feels a little bit overkill in my pocket. I still carry it every now and then, but it's outside of my preferences. This feels right, you know. 8 inches overall and a 3.4 inch blade. XM18, which, where did I put that? did that lit? Oh, it's over here. XM18 is 8 1/4, 3.5 inch blade, 3 1/4 inch cutting edge. It just feels right, you know, because it feels solid in my hand. I feel prepared. I feel like I can get my hands all the way around it. It's, you know, it's more than, it's substantially more than the Cadet. But the Cadet is, you know, it's not a knife that's treasured for, you know, reasons like, material, like the joy we get with material possessions, with knives in general. I don't really feel that with this knife. You know, is it all that I need? Yeah. Is the blade going to do the trick? Yeah. But the ergonomics don't feel as good. It doesn't look as good. The blade's just, you know, it's sharpened metal and it's fine and it's going to do its job. There's nothing wrong with that, but it just doesn't feel as good as the Hogue Ritter. You know, and that nice contouring, ergonomics. When I whip this thing out just to make a simple cut into a package, you know, that's all I'm doing. But hey, I'm doing it with M390, with a blade geometry that is perfectly suited for a slicing test, with G10 that's textured in a way that emphasizes grip and ergonomics. You know, it's nice. The XM18, awesome, in this case titanium scale. It's nice and textured, fantastic ergonomics. This big thick Wharncliffe blade in CPM 20 CV and that awesome black stonewash finish. Completely overkill, I'm just cutting open a box, but is it fun? Yes, it is. It doesn't matter who you are, what your profession is. It doesn't matter what you're going to be using your knife for, what type of utilitarian tasks. Carry what you want. There is no, I mean, like, technically, if you want to get down into the razor thin margins of exactly the right blade length for exactly the right job, that's fine. But you'll technically need to carry like 15 different blades with you all day, every day, even if you're just a simple office worker like me. Because that's what we're defining here, is exactly the right blade length for exactly the right job. Sometimes I like to carry something like this. You know, this would suit me just fine all day. Just a little 1 inch, little pocket razor with 2 separate edges. It kind of looks like a chisel. You know, that would work just fine too. But you know, there's certain tasks that are going to require just a little bit more than that. So I guess I need to carry this and something just slightly longer so that I'm ready for that. And then, you know, in some situations it's like, oh no, somebody needs their pineapple cut open, so I need a even bigger blade with a pointier tip. I mean, that's ridiculous. When people say things like that, I think they don't really realize what they're saying. Carry a pocket knife that's going to do everything that you know that is going to be asked of it in a regular day-to-day basis. But also carry something that gives you a sense of pride and joy with your tool, something that appeals to you aesthetically and, you know, the feel of it. You know, I mean, this sounds ridiculous, but close your eyes and feel it. Does it feel nice? Does it bring you joy? Then yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. You can carry whatever you want. You don't have to necessarily listen to the elitists of the knife world. I hope that wasn't too preachy, guys. This is something that I wanted to talk about. I thought it might be a fun discussion topic for Saturday, but that's going to be pretty much it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to take a look at my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.